Wow. We have an upset in the heavyweight division. Martin Bakole just stopped promising American talent, undefeated star he was basically on a star build with Top Rank, and that's Jared Big Baby Anderson. Wow. Listen, subscribe to the channel. Crazy fight. This was a crazy fight. Shout out to Martin Bakole on his victory. Jared Anderson, he has nothing to be ashamed of. It was not his night, obviously, but he showed a tremendous heart. Like, truthfully, in the first round, he was winning very comfortably and dominating the first round. Out of nowhere, Martin Bakole, who hadn't really been throwing many punches, and I don't know, I got to watch it again, but I don't remember the shot that he hit him with, but Jared Anderson fell big time and was rocked badly. The fight ended, I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say in the fourth round, it was a total of 3 knockdowns, and it was a good tempo, good pace fight. Both guys were having moments. I think after round 1, when Jared Anderson got knocked down, he warred back very good in rounds probably 2 or 3. But he's in there with this big grizzly bear looking dude who was huge. And I swear, if you follow me on social media, I warned everybody of this particular fight. I rate Jared Big Baby Anderson, but really the size, I told you, I kept telling you guys on social media, the tweets and the posts are still up, that this was going to be the Bakole show, because the first thing I noticed, not just in the fight, but before the fight, like at the weigh-in, was the size of Bakole was just night and day. Like, it's really going to get to the point where people start asking if we should have a super middle or super heavyweight and a heavyweight, because I'm not making any excuses. He looked huge, and it is what it is. Jared Big Baby Anderson signed up for this, but I also noticed some of the flaws and deficiencies that were there for Jared Big Baby Anderson with Charles Martin. I believe he said he didn't get hurt, but we seen it. It looked like he got hurt in the fight with Charles Martin, who was like an 11-day late replacement type of opponent. And that being said, there's like even a picture where Jared Anderson's head is getting rocked back and it looks pretty extreme. And now you're fighting somebody who looks pretty durable. They're built like a grizzly bear tank. They look bigger than you. They are bigger than you. It looked like they had an inch or 2 in height. They got long arms and they're heavy-handed. Jared Anderson's only 24 years old, I believe. And, you know, he fought valiantly, but this was almost the precursor to this, and the outcome to this was kind of foreshadowed in the Charles Martin fight. Again, Charles Martin's a southpaw. He's a veteran. The difference being Charles Martin was big and he did rock Jared Anderson. He just didn't keep up with his punches. And credit to Charles Martin for taking the fight on late notice. So maybe that had something to do with it. But you got Bakole with a full camp. He's huge. And he's one of those Zhang type of fighters where it's just like, you got to fight them the right way. And I think Jared Anderson got kind of greedy in the first round, and he was just opening up like it was some of the guys he had been fighting on Top Rank, which was nowhere near the level of Martin Bakole. Keep in mind, Bakole, he's not a big name. People know his name now, but Bakole has been in there with top heavyweights for years. And I'm talking about guys like Anthony Joshua. With me, it's mad. It's mad, right? You got Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, and he's a frequent AJ collaborator and sparring partner, and he's doing his thing, you know. So he's more seasoned than his record would indicate, and I think a lot of people misjudge this fight because they go off of like what other people say instead of doing their own homework. Because Jared Anderson, people are saying, oh, he's the next to take over for Wilder in terms of the Americans and stuff like that. And maybe they didn't know Bakole because, you know, he'd be over there with the Brits. I think he said he lives in Scotland or wherever he lives, and he's just not known. But styles make fights, and I think that was apparent. If you never believed that before, then believe it now. Styles make fights. And this dude was just too big, too patient, and it was to a point where you just can't really make no mistakes with a person like that. And Jared Anderson, like I said, in round one, he was coming out and he was just firing like this is one of his top ranked fights. But you got to approach a guy this big probably differently and try to meat tenderize, pause, and don't get me wrong, Anderson was doing some good things. Like his body attack was nasty. He showed a lot of heart, supreme heart. But I'm just saying, you got to box and move, stick and move, and hope this big dude get tired and things like that. But I was even, again, you can check my social media to validate all my comments were said in real time and before the fight. But Jared Anderson his just style is pretty aggressive, and he's not the biggest heavyweight. You got heavyweights like Wilder, 6'7", a lot of power. You got Joshua, 6'6", Zhele Zhang. I met him. He's a huge dude. No diddy. These are just big heavyweights. In the past, Vladimir Klitschko's and Vitalis and Lennox, it's just big dudes, heavy-handed, big fists. You got to fight them a certain type of way. And again, Jared Anderson being 24, not having the experience, top ranked, the way they groom you, they're not putting you in fights that really prepare you for Martin Bakole. To this point they hadn't. So this Riyadh season was a huge step up, and unfortunately, Big Baby Anderson found out the hard way. This dude was just too patient, too big, letting his hands go. There were 3 knockdowns, and you just can't have a shootout with a person like that. It's weird. And it's funny because I'm a YouTuber, and people always take shots at YouTuber. Oh, YouTubers don't know boxing. But I told you what was going to happen in this fight and the reasons why. I was like, Bakole's just too big, too strong. And everything I said came true. And then you had Shakur Stevenson, who's in the crowd for this. And because he's cool with Jared Big Baby Anderson, he was making it sound, when they asked him about it, he was making it sound like Jared Big Baby Anderson by stoppage. See, that's the thing in boxing. You can't have friends/favorites and then not really intelligently break down and look at the matchup. And that's what people do. Because they don't know who the opponent is, they often just side with whoever's glamorized. And if you really know and study this sport, then you'll put some respect on certain guys' name, because Bakole's been a dark horse. And I think people overinflated his loss to Michael Hunter, who's also a guy who lost to Usyk and started off at cruiserweight. So people, because he got stopped in the final round of that particular fight, maybe they thought okay, Jared Anderson's naturally bigger than Michael Hunter. But again, the Michael Hunter fight, sometimes you need to go through those losses and trials and tribulations. This man, Bakole, I believe he's on a 10-win streak, now 11 or whatever it is. And maybe that loss helped him. We've seen it with Canelo. Canelo loses to Mayweather and got to the basics and appeared to get better in general. So shout out to Bakole. But the shots he was getting hit with, Anderson, his head was rocking back and it was just looking too crazy. Ref had to jump in and stop it. Top rank. Now, it'll be interesting to see what they do next. Bakole, he goes on. Bakole, Zhang. Bakole, if he can get a big name he's not going to get Dubois or AJ. Maybe the winner or something like that. I don't know, but he made a huge statement. Very fun fight to watch. Anderson showed a lot of heart because he could have quit and looked for a way out even when he was getting dropped the second and third time. The ref was like, you want to continue? And he was like, yeah. But he had a look of discouragement. Boxing is a tough way to make coin, especially in the heavyweight division. But Bakole, he was just too sinister. He was accepting some of the early body work and maybe some of the shots. He was just walking through it like he didn't really feel it, like he was just too big. I don't know how much he rehydrates too, but some of these African fighters is dummy tough. But he was almost letting Jared Anderson get his work off so he can patiently pick his shots. And again, when you're fighting someone bigger and taller and they got some reach, some longer arms, that pulling straight back, it was you still in proximity where a person can shoot and still catch you. Versus when you're fighting, like Top Rank probably had him fighting guys that aren't as big as Bakole, and if they are, they're not as good as Bakole, or their reach is, not the same. So that's where you've seen the errors. But credit to Jared Anderson, he took it like a champ and said he made mistakes in there and didn't listen. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know if this is classified as an upset, but it was a great fight.